The Trump verdict seen as a pivotal moment for undecided voters, and social media is full of their comments, very interesting comments too. This is by Janice Hassel via Epoch Times on Zero Hedge. The outcome of former President Donald J. Trump's New York records falsification trial is most likely to influence undecided voters, a sliver of the electorate that could exert an outsized impact on November 5th presidential election. This is a pivotal moment in the 2024 race, American political history professor Jeff Bloodworth told Epoch Times as jurors began deliberation May 29. Mr. Bloodworth, who teaches at Gannon University in Erie, Pennsylvania, said suburban college-educated voters probably would allow the trial's outcome to influence their votes. The former president was convicted of 34 business record falsification charges. An appeal is almost certain, legal experts said. He'll appeal to the Supreme Court. Polls have shown that a conviction was poised to sway some voters away from President Trump, the presumptive Republican presidential nominee. Trump campaign pollsters predict the effect on votes will be minimal. However, it appears that the verdict is having a big immediate effect on fundraising. Several online commenters said that they made donations to the former president, but many visitors overwhelmed the website, causing it to crash temporarily and having to be restored several times. Yet a small percentage of voters could make the difference between winning and losing the 2024 election. Polling consistently has shown a razor-thin margin separating the two major candidates, President Trump and the incumbent Democrat President Joe Biden. I'm sure there'll be polls being taken now as we speak, and they'll be coming out soon to tell us what the voters' intentions will be. Now, many of those people are double haters. Mr. Bloodworth's term for voters who dislike both President Trump and President Biden. These voters are deeply about the outcome of the New York case. They care deeply, and they're very likely to turn out and cast their ballots, he said. He predicted that a guilty verdict against President Trump would drive those people back into the Biden camp like they were in 2020. That election was decided on the margins, Mr. Bloodworth said, resulting in President Trump's ouster. Now, in the thick of this, his third run at the presidency, President Trump still says he believes he was the rightful winner, a claim that mainstream media and many Democrats reject. In a statement accompanying the Quinnipiac poll, polling analyst Tim Malloy characterized Kennedy voters as particularly swayable, with 52% reporting they were likely to change their minds. President Trump supporters were less inclined to bail on their candidate, Mr. Malloy says, with only 8% somewhat likely to defect. Almost double that number say they could drop their support of President Biden. The Quinnipiac poll found that 70% of voters were following the New York trial closely, with 46% of respondents believing Trump did something illegal. About 6% of President Trump supporters say a conviction would make them less likely to vote for him, a number that could tip the balance in a very tight race, said Malloy. 7 states may matter most, but the Trump campaign pollsters, Tony Fabrizio and Travis Tunis, reported that several weekly surveys found the New York trial would have a negligible effect on voters in 7 swing states: Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Their research found that large percentages of Democrats and President Biden's voters were following reports about the New York trial, but voter segments that the Trump campaign is targeting, independents, undecideds, and persuadables, quote unquote, were much less likely to stay abreast of the trial, with most none following it very closely, the pollster said in a May 29 memo that the Trump campaign released. Voters in our key target states have already made up their minds on this trial. Most voters, especially our supporters, believe the case is politically motivated, and a conviction would be the result of a biased show trial. Biden's voters will believe President Trump is guilty no matter what, the memo said, and those in the middle are largely unconcerned. and their votes are not going to hinge on the results of the trial. Recent nationwide polling, including Quinnipiac's, has shown the two candidates in a statistical dead heat. President Trump, however, has pulled ahead of President Biden in battleground states and has been chipping away at the incumbent's lead in some states considered to be the Democrat strongholds. Several surveys show minority voters, such as blacks and Hispanics, drifting away from President Biden, whom they blame for inflated prices of groceries, fuel, and other necessities. The Trump camp's pollster said the 7 states they are focused on are most likely to decide the election, not the national data and media that the media would like us to focus on. They predicted national polls, especially those conducted by the media, will probably show exaggerated shifts. And polls could be flawed. Pollster Rich Barris doubts that polls can actually gauge how voters will respond to the New York verdict. When pollsters ask such a bias-tainted question, the results are skewed. Mr. Barris told Epoch Times that's because voters know the right answer they are expected to give, even though they would never vote for Biden regardless. Pollsters produced inaccurate results in 2020 when they found President Trump impeachments would adversely affect his vote totals, Mr. Barris said. He ended up setting the record for the most votes ever received by an incumbent president, Mr. Barris said. A guilty verdict in any of President Trump's legal cases may have little effect on voting behavior, Mr. Barris said, and a conviction is already baked into the cake, meaning voters expect it and believe it's politically motivated, Barris said. And this is on Zero Hedge by Janice Halsey, The Epoch Times. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support. Support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.